Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have with us Sarah Turner, founder of Sarah Thrive, and we'll explore with her circadian biology, mitochondrial health, and photo biomodulation. And we'll learn about practical ways to optimize energy, sleep, and brain function. We'll uncover how modern light exposure disrupts your biology, why decline isn't inevitable with age, and the simplest changes you can make starting today. Welcome to the show, Sarah.
Thank you, AJ. It's lovely to be here.
You're welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form, Sarah. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk light, energy, and much more. Light and energy and much more. In this backdrop, we will have our conversation. But before that, let's learn a bit about your background, your journey, so that the audience knows who they are listening to.
Sure. So my background, actually, I started in pharmaceuticals. I started in device development, looking at how you might deliver asthma products to the body. And it was during that time that I realized through doing various studies how important our environment is. So things like grounding or connecting to earth totally changes how a drug or any particle deposits in your lung, for example. And so I went down a different path of looking to see how we could manipulate our environment to have a health effect. And that led me to this fascinating topic we're going to talk about, which is light, and how our light environment actually has a dramatic effect on our health. And there are lots of simple things we can do to either change our ambient light environment or to use different light technologies, which is something that I now, exclusively spend my time looking to see how I can most effectively deliver light to people.
Absolutely, absolutely, Sarah. So, to understand it from a common person's perspective, uh, sunlight is always there in one way or the other. Whether it is less light, more light, but at least there is some sort of sunlight in all parts of the world. Leaving a few parts, and we all get it. Isn't that enough? I want to understand in that backdrop what is it that you are trying to say so that a common person can understand that.
Yes, you're right. I mean, we live on a planet where the sun is our main energy source. But really, as a species, we've changed the way that we interact with sunlight. So if you can imagine, like humans for probably 200,000 years have lived in a much more close relationship with the sun. For a very long period of time, we would have slept on the ground. We would have risen with sunrise because that's when, we would have had light to do things in the day. And our day would have ended with sunset because, it's really only in the last few hundred years that we've had constant artificial light that has enabled us to live indoors and also have artificial light at night consistently. So really, you're right to say, yes, sunlight is present all over the globe. But as a species now, we've moved to a more indoor lifestyle. And there are not many people who really get to see sunrise and sunset every day. And sunrise and sunset is especially important to humans because of the angle of the sun at those times of day, we get this long wave light. We call it near infrared light, but it's red and just beyond the red. And it's something that we get predominantly at those times of day, sunrise and sunset. So if you're not seeing sunrise and sunset, if you're indoors or you're going to work in an office or you're driving to work in a car, or a lot of people aren't even going to work now, they're working from a home office. If you don't see sunrise, you miss out on that near infrared light. And so as a species, we are now chronically deficient in near infrared light. And that has huge implications for our biology.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it's not the problem with the sun; it is a problem with us humans, and especially only some humans, not all of them. So I want to understand then, if a listener is listening to this, who is this whole discussion should be? Is it for those people nocturnals who wake up at night and then won't sleep all day? They need this sort of a discussion to understand it better. or is it a few other people who have got their difficult routines? But normal persons, they go out, they lead a normal life, they go out to walk, they go out for jogging, come back, go to office, and then come back. They do see the light of the day in ample quantity. Help us understand that who is this, all the extra light or external light, artificial light for?
Yes. Yes, you're right. People can be outside a little more, but I think most people aren't seeing sunrise every day. And I know perhaps in India it's a little bit easier. People are out, but I spend quite a lot of time in India myself. And I know that there are a lot of people who are also getting up after sunrise and going to busy offices where you're indoors all day. So I would say really most people are not getting the infrared exposure that we need. And it's a chronic deficiency. It's a time of light poverty, really, because we can think about this near infrared light almost like a nutrient that we're not getting, because near infrared light will actually penetrate deep into the body. We kind of don't think of our bodies that way, but actually this red light will go through the body, and we're covered in receivers for this light. The receiver that we kind of focus on the most is the mitochondria, which is the little organelle in our cell which makes energy. People may remember from their school days, the powerhouse of the cell is the mitochondria. But the mitochondria is something that's present in all cells of the body, apart from red blood cells, but it's the energy currency. And it's this particular organelle that's stimulated by near infrared. So if people are not getting that morning light, their mitochondria are kind of not woken up and they're kind of going through their day energy depleted. It also acts as a signal to the cellular DNA. It's time to switch on different healing protocols. Again, if you don't get that message, your body isn't doing those things. You're not generating the hormones. You're not switching on healing protocols. You're not sleeping properly because your body's kind of a little bit out of sync. So really, yes, you're right. People who are kind of doing shift work are especially vulnerable. But I think everybody now is vulnerable unless people are really making the time to get up at that time of day, sunrise, put bare feet on the ground and kind of spend a bit of time outdoors at sunrise. And then also, most favorably also at sunset too. And it's just not something that fits with our modern lifestyle. We've swapped really this kind of healing benefit of the sun for comforts, for our creature comforts, for being indoors, for having offices with windows. So I think really it applies to everyone. If people are left deprived of this near infrared light for long enough, it will lead to chronic disease later on. And then people can start to use the technologies in a targeted way to put that red light back. So now there is a lot of papers being published on the use of what's called red light therapy. And really what this is doing is using devices like mine to put that light back. So, for people who aren't out at sunrise, you're almost like, think of it like a supplement. If you're not getting enough magnesium, you might take a magnesium supplement. So most people aren't getting enough of this sunrise, so they may take a red light therapy device as a supplement. So that's the very easy way to think about it. But I think it applies to everybody. And perhaps the people that benefit most are people who have trouble with tiredness, with brain fog, with gut issues. But I think, that is a lot of people, really.
Right, sir. Let me understand it for the audience this particular way, so that we understand the extent of the issue. In your part of the world, you are also a business owner who is talking about this. So what is the extent? Do you have any figures in your part of the world as to how many, people may actually need some sort of an artificial, boosting light because of missing the sun? Any figures? Because that is how you base your business on.
Well, I can certainly give you figures for the predominance of things like IBS, all of these things which can be attributed to a lack of energy. It's 10% of the global population, not just here in UK. But probably I would say obviously in the UK, we have a deficiency of sunlight. And especially in the winter months, we have very little sunlight. And sunlight doesn't just contain these near infrared wavelengths that I'm talking about. It also contains UV light in the middle of the day. So here in UK, we have like very low sunlight. So people are not only missing those red wavelengths, in the winter months, we also miss out on UV. So that also means that we have, our bodies need that UV light to make vitamin D and various other things, testosterone. So if people don't get enough sunlight in the summer, because you can store vitamin D, people have deficiencies, happening over those winter months. So I would say, it's probably a very, very high percentage of people who are not seeing sunrise here in the UK on a regular basis. I would probably go up to 80%, even 90% of the population here is deficient in near infrared. And I think it's a global thing, because even in countries that has a lot of sunlight, most people aren't outside, like exposing their skin to that light. Because this is what we need to do. We need to make sure that the light is actually getting to our bodies, because any kind of clothing, of course, will block some of these wavelengths. So globally as a whole, I think it's not just North countries that are kind of in these kind of northern latitudes that have this effect. It's really a global issue, and it's more about leading an indoor lifestyle than where you are in the world. It's whether or not you kind of are able to be outside at sunrise with the ability to expose a good amount of your body to that wavelength. If not, that's when red light therapy comes into its own, because it's something that you can do at home in your room. You can kind of have panels and things where you can put it direct on your skin. So it's a way of getting those healing wavelengths of light wherever you are in the world. I think, like I say, it's a species-wide problem. It's not really to do with our geography anymore.
Absolutely, Sarah. Let me understand it from one more point for my audience, who may ask something like this, that, Sarah, first, is it something about some industry thing? Because first, for many years, the industry said, if you go out, the sun is harmful, so apply that sunscreen. And the whole Western world was talking about you will get sunburn and all that stuff. So if you go out, apply all those sunglasses and whatnot, hats and all. Hats are fine still. And then now suddenly they say you have not gotten enough sunlight. Now you need to get artificial sunlight. Instead of saying go out in the sun, you need artificial light. Is it another way now that people have woken up to that sunscreen, or better understanding what to have, not to have? This is the way industry is pushing up now artificial sunlight. Let my audience understand it from your point of view.
Thank you, and that's such a brilliant question, because I think there is a lot of confusion around the sun and sun exposure and light exposure in general. So thank you very much for the question. So from my point of view, as somebody who is producing artificial light to substitute sunlight, I always say to people, you don't need to invest in these devices to get the benefit. You really just need to be outside at sunrise in the morning. So certainly I don't push people into buying devices. I always say, number one, if you can, do it the natural way and be outside at sunrise. Now, sunrise, we don't have very much UV. So UV is this light that can be damaging for people. But humans have evolved this amazing kind of relationship with the sun. If you imagine, really, we've only had sunscreen very recently in our history. The reason why people could go out in the sun before that is because if you go out at sunrise, that red light will precondition your skin to prepare your skin for the UV of the middle of the day. If you just go out in the middle of the day and you haven't seen sunrise, you haven't been exposed to red light, then yes, you do have a risk of burning your skin. And that is something that potentially is dangerous and is linked to different kinds of potentially even skin cancer. So really the advice is, don't kind of be sensible. Don't be out in the middle of the day and just kind of expose yourself if you haven't had any light in between. But certainly going outside at sunrise where we don't have so much UV is very, very safe. And this is where you get that beneficial light. And doing that can even precondition your body to be better able to deal with UV light in the middle of the day. If for whatever reason you can't go out at sunrise, and again, this may be where maybe vulnerable groups, maybe elderly people, maybe people who are ill, or maybe people who are just doing shift work, or people who have jobs that mean that they genuinely can't get outside in the morning, or maybe even busy mums who have got to get all their kids and things ready and just don't have time to go out. That's when you can substitute with these technologies. So you're totally right. I don't think it should be that people are being pushed into using artificial light as a substitute for the sun if they have it available. My advice to people is always, first and foremost, try and do it naturally if you can. If you can change your lifestyle so that you can get out at sunrise, that's going to be the best thing for your body. Second best is to use this light technology. So that's when, like I say, if people are unwell, if people are elderly, if people are busy, if people have shift work jobs, that's when you may find it's very, very beneficial to use the technology, because the technology, it is very simple, it's very easy to use, it's very safe, and it's non-toxic. You're just delivering those wavelengths that you would have got at sunrise. So I totally agree with you. We shouldn't be pushing people into using expensive technology when they have sun freely available. We just need to make sure that they get enough of this near infrared. So if possible, do it the natural way, sit next to a window, go for a walk on your lunch break, get as much light as you can safely. Don't expose yourself to really strong light if you either haven't preconditioned in the morning or if you haven't covered your body sufficiently. But there's a but here. If for whatever reason you're not out at sunrise, you have to recognize that you've missed something essential, and you really do need to think about how you're going to put that back, either with a technology or by changing your lifestyle so that you can be out at the start of the day.
Absolutely, absolutely, Sarah. So now let us understand the role of Sarah Thrive into particular this, and also how much does these artificial lights compensate our bodies in the absence of the sun? How much does that? Can these lights really be the substitute to sun? Because sun is sun and this is just an artificial light.
Yes. So like I say, it's these specific wavelengths of the sun that we're after. And so we know how it operates in the body. We know exactly which of these wavelengths seems to be the most beneficial with regards to stimulating energy and turning on signaling pathways. So we are able to make devices that deliver that particular wavelength of light. So my device, for example, is designed for people who have brain issues. Now, you may think that the brain is tucked away there and it's all dark inside the skull. But actually, as I mentioned, the body's quite transparent to this near infrared wavelength, but the skull is still a little bit of a barrier. So I've designed a device that fits around the forehead and will actually deliver that long wavelength of light that will go through the skull and onto the brain, because the brain has a lot of mitochondria. The brain is huge, takes up a huge amount of our energy stores, and it demands a lot of energy. You know, there's so much energy goes into our actual processing power. So to be able to deliver this long wave light directly to the brain has been shown to be beneficial in a whole range of neurodegeneration or mood disorders, or even childhood disorders, but also just to help brain performance. So again, if you can get outside and every day you're seeing sunrise, your skull is actually channeling that light down onto your brain. If you're not doing that, this device is a good way to do it. I also pair it with a gut device, because your gut and your brain are also connected. And again, it's not so easy in our modern society to really expose your abdomen, your belly, to a sun a lot of time. Maybe if you have your own private garden. A lot of people live in apartments and things, and it's difficult to be able to go and actually expose the middle part of your body to sun. So we can then use a body pad that's mimicking that sunlight, but delivering those healing wavelengths that your body needs. And we can do it in a fairly concentrated way. With my device, for example, it's just 10 minutes to get that healing effect. So I think having this technology, like I say, it's very simple technology, because we just know which of the wavelengths from the sun are those optimal ones. but we can deliver it in quite a sophisticated way where we're targeting and concentrating. So people really only have to do it for 10 minutes a day using these very easy, portable little devices.
Right, Sarah. So aren't these devices required to have some doctor recommendation or prescription, in the sense that a lot of people who may also have other issues that may get aggravated because of that? Anything that simple people should be aware of as some sort of, a side effect or contraindications or anything of the sort, so that they do not, fall into deeper trouble by using, any of these devices without knowing much about them?
Yes, another brilliant question, AJ. Well, actually, there are quite a lot of doctors that use this system, and then they can, as you rightly said, really advise you and get a bespoke program. So it is wise, if you're very serious about your health, to do this in conjunction with a medical doctor. And that way they can advise you on other lifestyle changes that will help you. Having said that, most of my audience is just a consumer audience, because we're dealing with something that's very, very safe to use at home. You wouldn't think about asking your doctor if it's okay for you to go for a walk at sunrise, So think about it like that. Like, what we're really doing is just delivering sunrise to the body. So it's something that your body recognizes. It's very safe. It doesn't in any way interfere with people's medication. I think one thing I would say is, if you're very, very ill, you might want to start slowly, because your body will start to produce more energy. And if you're unwell, then that can make you tired as your body kind of starts powering up. If you're very fit and healthy, you can use the light a lot. So yes, if you have a specific health goal, it's probably worth working with a doctor, and lots of doctors are using this. I distribute my particular device in India. So people can come to my website and we can direct them to where there's a local doctor who's using the device. But the device is very safe to use at home. It's even safe for children and elderly people, because it's non-toxic, it's non-invasive, it's easy to apply, and it's just like a walk in the sunrise.
Absolutely. So for those people who may be interested to understand more, or perhaps, be interested in your products, what's the best way for them to do so?
The best way is just to visit my website, which is Cerathrive, CERATHRIVE. And also I'm very active on socials, all with the same name, Cerathrive. Or I actually encourage people to message me personally, which is my name, Sarah @Cerathrive, SARAH, because I love questions from people, and it's kind of my passion to get this information out to people. So I encourage people to either visit the website or contact me directly.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you. Such a pleasure.